This is GadgetStop321. In today's video, I'm going to be comparing a couple Platinum 3776s to my Penbbs 308. I've got a fine nib in this pen, a medium nib in this one, and the Penbbs is also a fine nib. And these pens have a lot in common. There are some significant differences, but surprisingly they have a lot in common. All three are cigar shape. The Penbbs has a little bit pointier ends, but I'm going to do the writing sample first, and then I'll talk about the other differences in the pen. I'm going to start with the Penbbs. Better get my glasses. I've been using this Penbbs for a couple weeks now, so I don't have extensive experience with it, but I've been using it quite a lot at work. Let's see, I think I'm going to do the Penbbs. Let's see, well, I'll just write over here. Okay, this is a fine nib. And it's inked up with Iroshizuku, Momiji, I guess for this to have been a perfect comparison, I should have had the same ink in all three pens, but they all have three different inks in them. But we'll see how they compare. This Penbbs pen is a little bit dry, but we'll see how it compares to the other two. And I'll go ahead and show while I have it out. Penbbs has this characteristic, I've heard it called a mini fude. It's not really an upturned nib, it's just ground in a fashion that it looks like it has an upturn. But it's very smooth. Okay, let me see. I'm going to go ahead and do a reverse writing real quick. It's not super smooth, but it does put down a very fine, consistent line and allows you to write very small. Okay, now I'm going to do the write with the 3776 fine nib. This is, I think this is called the black and black. It's an opaque black. It's got yellow gold trim. This has a 14 karat gold nib, so whereas the Penbbs had a steel nib. And this is inked up with Colorverse, Pale Blue Dot. And it appears to be putting down a finer line than the Penbbs. It's a little bit drier. I don't think I've ever tried reverse writing with this. It's smoother, but I don't know if you're actually getting a finer line. Maybe a little bit. Let me flip it over. Maybe just a hair finer, but this fine nib puts down such a fine line to begin with. I guess, yeah, it's noticeably finer, but I don't know how useful it would be. Okay, let me scoot this up. And this is Platinum 3776 with a medium nib. This is the Black Diamond. It's a translucent, somewhat translucent material, and it's got the silver trim. It also has a 14 karat gold nib, but it's rhodium plated. This is a little bit closer to the Penbbs Fine. These two might be more similar, and this is just inked up with, I think this has the platinum blue ink cartridge. Let's see. This is quite a bit smoother than the fine nib, but I'll check in just a minute. I think the Penbbs feels smoother. Yeah, I'll show a difference in the shape of the tipping. So, yeah, this is the wettest of the three nibs, followed by the Penbbs, and then the fine nib puts down a little less ink. Let's see what reverse writing here looks like. Now, this is, it's not smooth, but it's smoother than the Penbbs reverse writing. And I can see where it would be an advantage with this pen. Yeah, if you want to write a bit smaller and it be more legible. So let's see. I'm going to compare this to the Penbbs. Yeah, the Penbbs is definitely smoother, but it's a bit drier, which that's easily corrected. You can open up the tines a little bit, and let's see. On smooth paper, this fine nib, I can tell it's not quite as smooth as the other two, but on poorer quality paper, this would be quite a, would probably feel scratchy to most people. Okay, so what I'm seeing here is this Penbbs, you get this, it's comparable to the platinum medium, and then with the reverse writing, they're similar also. There's not really enough of a difference in the fine and its reverse writing to make it worthwhile, but that's interesting. So the, let's see, I wanted to show it, the difference in the way the nibs are ground. Neither of these have round nibs or round tipping. You can tell it's not round, and you can feel that on the paper. It's not glassy smooth like maybe Pilot nibs are ground more round, the tipping is, and it's more of a glassy smooth writing experience. And you can see, depending on how you hold the pen, it'll be smoother, and depending on how smooth your paper is will have an effect on how smooth it is to write. Here's a comparison. The sections are fairly similar in shape. The Penbbs has a longer section. You can see the size of the nibs are similar. The shape's a little bit different. Platinum has that characteristic wider shoulders on the nib. But as far as the sections go, they're both very comfortable, and neither one have uncomfortable threads. Now, the Platinum, let me get this out of the way so you can see a little bit better. The Platinum does have a more pronounced step, and you can feel it, but it's not uncomfortable. The step on the Penbbs is almost non-existent. These are both cartridge converter pens. Let me see. Yeah, this one I've got the cartridge in right now. And the Platinum uses proprietary Platinum cartridges and converters. I've got the converter in this one. I really like Platinum converters. They feel really solid. I'm not sure, I think this is plastic, but it feels almost like glass. It's just feels really good, solid, a good heavy converter. And let's see, the Penbbs is all plastic. Oh, I wanted to show that. The Platinum 3776, you're not going to be able to eyedropper it because it has this metal housing that the converter or the cartridge slides into. But the Penbbs is designed so that if you would like to eyedropper convert it, it is all plastic or all resin, and it has a little rubber O-ring there. You could put some silicone grease on the threads and it would be ready to go. And it came with this converter. Now, depending on where you buy your Platinum 3776, it may or may not come with a converter. I had to buy my own converters, and they come in, either a gold or silver. You can pick which converter you want. This is not a standard international converter. It has a little spring in it to break the surface tension of the ink. But it has the opening on the end. I saw in a video by Doug Rathbun that it appears to have the same opening as Parker cartridges, but the length may or may not work depending on whether you get the long or the short ones. This is a number 6 nib. I haven't tried exchanging the Penbbs nib for another number 6 nib, but it did. I bought this one from Bobby Penn. He did include, I think this is probably, it's an unmarked nib, but it appears to be a medium round with round tipping if you don't like this Fude nib or mini Fude. And let's see, the Penbbs pen is constructed out of a turned resin instead of injection molded. The Platinum 3776s are made out of injection molded plastic, and you can feel, I don't know if you'll be able to, yeah, you can see it there, that seam. They're not, it's not terrible, but you can feel it. You know, it's not rough, it's not going to irritate your hand when you're holding the pen, but you can feel those seams on the section. Now on the body of the pen, I don't feel any, or on the cap. They're polished down pretty good, but you will feel it on the section. The Platinum 3776, like I mentioned, has the 14 karat gold nib, and the Penbbs has a steel nib. Another similarity slash difference is, you won't be able to see it. Maybe you can get a slight glimpse of the spring in there. There's a plastic inner liner that's spring loaded that pushes against the section when you cap the 3776, and you can feel it engaging. You get to this point and you encounter some resistance, and you can feel that cap liner engaging, and it's supposed to keep the nib from drying out for quite a while. They say 1 to 2 years. I've never put it to the test, and I clean out my pens pretty regularly, but that's a nice feature. And I was a little bit concerned. I guess I was thinking of another Penbbs pen that I'd looked at, but I thought the 308s had a cap liner as well, but it doesn't. But it does have this little ridge in the cap. You can kind of feel it with a Q-tip, and you can see it, that acts as a cap liner. It matches up against the section and will keep the nib from drying out, which is a good feature because this nib is pretty dry to begin with. My only concern is the exposed metal in there. When it comes into contact with humidity from the nib, is it going to corrode? We'll see how that stands up. The Platinum 3776 has a characteristic clip. I like the style. It's simple but nice looking. The Penbbs has a simple clip. I like it. Springy. The 3776 is a little bit looser, which there's not a huge difference in the two. The 3776s have this wide cap band and then a more narrow one. Wait a minute. I think this is the one, maybe it's one cap band, but I think this is painted to make it look like two separate cap bands. I believe that's the case. But anyway, it says, let's see, 3776 Platinum. What's the made in Japan? And interestingly, the Penbbs says Penbbs, little symbol, and then it says 266. And what I've heard is these cap bands were left over from I don't know if it was another pen model, or maybe this pen model used to be called the 266, and they're just using up the stock that they have. Now, no there's no resin after the cap band in this case, but this metal is very smooth. I have other pens that have a metal cap band like this that are a little bit sharp, but this one's very smooth. The threads are nice. I'm just very happy with this pen, and the biggest difference of all is you could buy, depending on what finish you get, both of these pens come in a variety of finishes and different colors, both transparent and opaque. But depending on what finish you get, you could buy anywhere from 5 to 10 of these Penbbs fountain pens for the price that you would pay for a 3776. So that makes this pen quite a bit more appealing, and I've been very happy with it. It's a great take to work pen. I still like to use my 3776s, but this is more of a pen that I can throw in my purse and not really sacrifice writing experience. You can see, they all write very well and are comfortable to use. So if you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel.